Okay.
I have no refund in my pockets.
No what?
I brought some Santos
Oh,
in my pocket.
This just makes it a lot more
Uh,
difficult to
for,
eat the popcorn.
for the
yes.
salsa.
That's what we're here
It's
for.
like the knockoff salsa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, recap. Who wants to give us a 3-minute summary of Parak Aleph?
Everything was going so well.
Yeah, right. That's a great one sentence recap of Parak Aleph of Iyov. Any highlights?
Weekly parties. I mean, daily parties.
Right.
Unprovoked.
Capped off by the father thinking it was necessary to offer a carbon because maybe they did Birkat Hashem.
Right. Maybe they cursed
God.
Hashem in their heart.
So it seems like, did it call him exotic and stuff right in the end?
It
Oh.
called
Well,
him.
then,
Not the best
more
of the
words
best.
Yeah.
than anybody else got.
Right. Right. He had 4
Yeah.
accolades. Ish.
I think
What
that's
was it?
important.
That's
Tam
a lot of cars.
Yashar, Vyar
Yeah.
Elokim, Sar Meirah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And that's important.
And then
And then this something comes in
right, Satan. Okay.
and says it's only because he has seen some what eat.
So God is like, hey, Satan,
Well,
have you
they
checked
never
out Iyov? Because he is super awesome, fantastic.
Hashem's talk, that's important.
When you say such, you mean the
This
men of,
one
the men
pack.
of God, right? Or no?
So there were 2 things.
Oh,
First, there
yeah.
was the Bnei Elokim that came just to be Hisyatsev al Hashem. They're just kind of hanging out, and then the Satan comes to join the party, and the Satan and God have that conversation. Um, God is like, Iyov is awesome. What do you think about him? So what was the Satan's response to that?
It's great. Because you give him everything.
Right, pretty much. Um, from the from a theological standpoint, it's basically God. You can never really trust anyone that serves you if things are going well for them because you have no idea if they're serving you because they love you or if they're serving you in order to facilitate their lifestyle.
But if they don't have that lifestyle and they serve you, they're serving you because they want that lifestyle.
Okay,
So
but if you afflict them, but if they had that lifestyle and you God take it away from them, and
they'll
I,
serve you to get it back.
maybe, or maybe they'll be angry. Maybe for a minute he'll show his true colors. You know, if he loses everything, maybe he'll turn around and spurn you before he realizes, oh wait a minute, maybe I should just like be a good boy. So God says,
Carte blanche.
go for it. That sounds
Okay.
like a great idea.
Right. Take everything except for
Can't
Him.
can't hurt him.
him himself. Right?
Right.
Everything that all his possessions.
Right.
Carte blanche.
And that's what happens, right? Everything goes. Everything must go. All his stuff and his kids and everything
One after the other.
one after another without even having a chance to recuperate from one episode. The next messenger comes in and tells him everything. You've lost it all. And what was Eob's response? He cursed God?
No.
Did not curse God. What was his response?
Falls down, stands up, bows,
Yeah.
and then he says like,
What's the famous
God.
line?
I got the down on the page.
Oro mi atzosu bet imi.
Shalom Hashem Atzan.
Va'om otu from.
Naked I
Hashem
came.
Lekach. Yishem Hashem Levorach.
Right. I came here with nothing. I'll leave with nothing. So whatever, I started at 0. If I go back to 0, I'm no worse than I was when I got here. But this is all from God, right? Hashem Latam Hashem Lakach means that this isn't random chance. He clearly sees that God is doing this to him, and he goes to the opposite extreme. It's not, as the Satan said, he's going to curse you when he loses everything. Yishem Hashem Avarach, he blesses God, but truly blesses God, not the euphemistic blesses God, but really means to curse God. And then the last sentence, the last puzzle, we get the narrator. B'chol zos lo chata Iyov. In all this, Iyov did not sin. V'lo natan tifla lelohim, and he didn't give empty words to God. Okay. Parak Bet. It gets worse. That's like the one sentence summary of Parak Bet. Um, who wants to read Parak Bet?
Shimmy does.
He spoke to him and he said,
What
I'm
pasuk are
sorry,
you
I'm
on?
sorry, sorry. I was on base. Hurricane?
Vayihi Hayom.
Where are we?
Parak
Third
Bet,
base,
pasuk
pasuk
Aleph.
I'm sorry,
2-1.
I was on Gimel, sorry. Skipped the whole thing. Everybody, yeah, you know, there was a day, the man came and came to Sasha Hashem, and he came to, I guess, present himself before
Does
Hashem.
this sound familiar?
It's a redo.
This is word for word what we had in the first incident. Vayihi Hayom,
So it's the
same
next year?
same day. Maybe it's
Rosh
the
Hashanah.
next year. Maybe yeah, let's say it's the next year, or maybe it's another Judgment Day. Maybe one's Rosh Hashanah, the other's Yom Kippur. But yeah, it's a day very much like the last situation, and the Bnei Elohim are again over there being Yisiat Seiv al Hashem.
Yovel got my Satan, and Satan so came himself from with them and Sasha Hashem to present himself before Hashem.
Right.
Yom Hashem, Yom Hashem Satan, Hashem says to Satan, Ei Mizet Havo, where do you come?
Yeah, where have you been?
Or where have you been? Yeah, I said, and Hashem, B'yom, and he said, Mishat Beretz Mishalech Ba. And, what was it?
I've been walking around the earth.
Same thing.
Just roaming around, checking
this
out
way, right?
people.
Taking in the sights.
Same
Same
thing.
thing.
The people who really medactic will point out little nuanced differences,
Mhm.
but conceptually this is the exact same thing that we read last time, like word for word. God, starting a conversation with Satan. Satan has the whole preamble, Vayan HaSatan et Hashem, the Omar, right? The very formal response. Okay, so what? Any bets on what God's gonna do now?
Again, remember have you considered my servant Iyov? He ain't because there is no one in the land, Ishtam, a man of hold, Yasher, and upright, Yera, the king of Hashem, the Mera, and who stays away from bad. But then, Machzik, Kusumaso, and what does that mean?
He's still holding
Oh.
on to being a Tom,
That's,
right? He's still perfect.
That's different, right?
That's different, yeah.
Right, that's it, right? Vatisi Shani, Bo, Lavalo, Shinam. And he didn't move against me, just he didn't move to destroy me.
Vatisiseni, and you seduced me
Oh.
to swallow him up. Lavalo means to swallow something. Chinam. So this is like a crazy line. There's a couple things going on here. First of all, they had a bet, right? They had this whole agreement. So you would think, first of all, if I'm the Sultan, I'm not even showing up at the next Vayihi Hayom. Like, I'd be embarrassed. I had this whole wager with God, and it went really badly. But Satan shows up, and everything is the same. God even kind of gives him the chance, like, oh, how are things? And the Satan doesn't say, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm really sorry that I, made you destroy this perfectly wonderful person for no good reason. You were right, I was wrong. Nothing. The Satan is totally unfazed by the fact that Iyov just blew him out of the water. Right?
He's a Satan.
What?
He's a Satan.
He's the Satan, right? What else is he gonna do?
It's his job.
He doubles down. So God says, okay, we'll get to what the Satan says in a minute. But what God says is really interesting. God says Iyov is exactly the same as he was last time. He's Ishtam Yashar Yar Elokim Sar Meira, and then he adds in the Aodenu Machzik Betumatov. He's still holding on to being this perfect, pure person. That phrase is going to be important later on. And then God says something that the Gemara says, if it wouldn't be that the pasuk said it, we wouldn't be allowed to even think in this fashion. Vatisiseni vo levalo chinam sounds like God is saying, you tricked me. You seduced me into swallowing up this guy for no reason. You're God. Right? The word chinam here, I mean, we could spend weeks going through every single word and why it's used, where it's used. We're not going to do that because then we're not going to cover any ground. But if you look back at Parak Aleph, when God says that Iyov is super awesome, so Satan's response is in pasuk Tes, Parak Aleph pasuk Tes. Vayana hasatan et Adonai v'yomar. So Satan answers, Hasatan I should say, answers God, and he says, Hachinam yare Iyov Elohim. Does Iyov serve? Does he fear God chinam? So God is throwing this back in his face. In pasuk Dalet, in Parak Beis pasuk Dalet, he says, "Vatisisein vo levalo chinam." You want to talk about chinam? You got me to ruin Eov's life chinam for no good reason. So the chinam that you were worried about is complete bogus. That's why the term is reused over there. Okay, let's. I'm sorry, that was pasuk Gimel. Pasuk Daled starts Vayam Hasatan.
Yeah, Satan Hashem and Satan answered Hashem. The Yom said, "Or ba'ad, or the skin, over skin. The whole Asher ish, you can ba'ad nafsho." And if you want to, I guess, touch the man's skin.
B'chol asher liish, everything that a person has, yitain he would give ba'ad nafsho in place of his life. So this phrase or ba'ad or is kind of an unusual phrase. They want to say this was like a common phrase in the ancient world. Skin for skin.
You got skin in the game.
Sort of. It's the idea. So some of the Forshim say if someone's being struck by a sword, so he would pick up his arm to block the blow. So he's willing to sacrifice some skin to save the rest of his skin. I've seen Meforshim that say this is particularly talking about the children, that a man would even be willing to give up his own skin, meaning his own flesh and blood, the way we say nowadays. He'd even be willing to give up on other people in his family if it means he saves his own skin. But the idea that the Satan is responding with is, sure, you took away all of his stuff, but at the end of the day, all he really cares about is saving his hide. As long as you haven't gone after him, then he doesn't really have a reason to go after you. So let's keep reading.
This is a little bit of the opposite of what we're saying in terms of skin. He's saying he's normally saying he's willing to protect his children.
No, he's willing to give up protecting his children if it saves his own skin.
So going stretch out your hand like that, last money, the other sorry, and touch or hit his himself his flesh. And see if he will continue to bless you then.
Right. So we talked about how the term Yivarechacha, the blessing God, sometimes it means bless and sometimes it means curse. So here again it means curse, even though last time we saw it, Iyov used it, he literally blessed God. So Satan is basically saying until you really go after him personally, physically, so you took some stuff away. He can always get his stuff. He can, easy come, easy go. Maybe it'll come back, right? Until you do something to him that is irrevocable, to him personally, then it's not a fair test. Is essentially what Satan is saying. You got him in round one. You're right, but that's not enough to validate this question of would a person really rebel against God if things are not the way he wants them to be. So
he's in your hand. It's not Shemar, but just guard his life.
Right, you can't kill him. So the Gemara says that this is like God gave Satan a very difficult task. It was like telling him to break a barrel of wine, but not let the wine get spoiled, right? Like you're going to break his body, you're gonna destroy the person, but you have to destroy him within an inch of his life, but not let his soul expire. Yeah, I mean the question is, and this is the question of the whole book: why is God acquiescing to this? It wasn't enough. Like the first test really wasn't enough. Do we believe the Satan that we need to go through round two to really test Iyov? You can say yes, but you have to justify it.
If they say he wasn't a real person, then
Okay.
Even if he's not a real person, so what's the moral? Okay, that's fair. Let's pretend it's all made up. So what you're saying is once we're making it up, let's see how this plays out. But it has to have some relevancy. Like if it's not a fairy tale. It's here to teach us a moral lesson.
Look, we're never going to know I mean, that's not true, not never, but we don't know what's going on in the heavenly spheres. We don't know the reason for the terrible, horrible things that some people go through in their lives in this world. And maybe, just maybe, this is just like giving you some context of like, listen, you know, there's a reason for it. Just maybe it's Hakadosh Baruch Hu just trying to say like, listen, I'll let the Satan go and do your worst, and I want to show that you always have an opportunity to just rise above it.
I like that. Like it wouldn't be, it can't be the ultimate moral lesson unless it's the ultimate problem, right? Iyov has to overcome the ultimate test, and if we feel that he hasn't yet overcome the ultimate test, then we have to push him
Right.
to that
And
next
you even
step.
have like as you were still talking about like you have like other people like coming over like no you must have something wrong. No, maybe not.
Right.
That's actually today's Daf Yomi. About
You started?
suffering.
Yeah, it's Hadik Faralo, right?
I've been on and off for like 8 years.
That counts.
It counts when you start again.
When I see him?
No, I mean different masechtas over time, but no.
No, but-
Yeah, but no, but that's what it's saying. Like if you're suffering, then you look into yourself. Maybe it's something you did, or maybe it's just sometimes Hashem does it out of ava. So well, what does that mean? And it goes the whole thing. Like sometimes there's different. It's kind of complicated. It actually reminded me that I'm grabbing this shit tonight because it was all about this concept. I don't really get what we're supposed to take out of it though.
Yeah.
Like as far as like what so like what does it mean that we're being punished out of or not? It's not punished that we have tsaros out of ava. So is it so that when we go to Olam Haba we don't have anything to atone for anymore?
That's one approach.
That's one thing. It sounds like that's not always the only reason. I don't really understand the other reasons. I don't know. That's all I got.
But the point that they're making that suffering is good for you, it could be good for you, I think you understand. That's the opposite of what we're seeing here, right? This is
Say more.
here we're saying suffering is because Satan feels like playing games.
Right.
So it doesn't fit in at all. It's the opposite of what we know. We've always learned that the tests are when you get the
The Olam HaEmes, they'll explain the whole
we'll
thing.
realize that everything was really good for us.
Right.
But that's like trying to read it into this, and it's not here.
And I'll
Here's the
let you
opposite.
in on a little secret before we do the other 40 prakim. God doesn't show up at the end and go, here's really what happened, Iyov. I had this conversation with Satan, and that's why we went through this whole exercise. Unlike the midrashim or even the psukim where Avram gets tested, and the Malach says, "Ata yadati ki you're looking." Okay, now I know that you've proven something to me. You went through this test, Avraham, and now I, God, can see that you are a true Yarei Elokim. There doesn't seem to be any indication of that. You mean the Ramban says? Well, we'll get to. Let me not jump ahead. Okay. So what does the Satan do? Does someone else want to read? I put you through enough.
Okay, Morty.
Why?
Me, no.
Put him through more.
That sounds like you want to read it.
Okay, you see.
Hashem. So the Satan goes out. Vayaches Iyov.
Also,
Shchin.
Me'ez, right? Like from the presence of Hashem, like more of
Yeah, formal.
The Shchin Ra.
Right, not just Vayetze. I hear what you're saying. Not just Vayetze Hasatan Vayachas Iyov. Vayetze Hasatan Me'ez Pnei Hashem. Vayachas Iyov.
He smites Iyov with Shchin.
Not just any
Shchin
Shchin.
Ra.
Not the bad Shchin.
Right. As opposed to, right.
Which I think we
Oh,
have
no,
by
no,
the
no,
Makos.
not
also.
those
They
good
got-
boils.
like Gold Bond, medicated.
Nikaf Raglo Vad Kod Kodo. There's a Krinik Siv.
Yeah. It's not really relevant for us. It's just ad or ve'ad.
We have it as a Krinik Siv, as opposed
That's
to
the
like,
Masorah. That's
as opposed to like is it one of those things that we put or not put?
that. This is exactly what we talked about in the biblical criticism class. Is there a vav there or is there no vav there?
Right.
But whatever it is, it also doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Wow.
So
Okay.
from from foot to foot to head. Right? We say head to foot. They say foot to head. So he's covered in the shchin ra.
Kacho Peres. His goder bone.
Lihiska raid. Lihiska raid.
No, sorry. His goder bone. Was it glass pottery? What is that?
Pottery shard. Yeah.
Like to scratch?
Yeah.
Oh, that's intense.
Yeah.
Liyoshev the Socha for. He's sitting in the dirt.
Yeah, he's sitting in the afer to remember. There's two kinds of boils. There's like the liquid, the more liquidy and the more dry. So the dry he's scratching. The more liquidy the afer is kind of absorbing.
Which one's the bad one?
They're both
Both.
they're both that one. So the question I had the first time I read this is, whatever you smite Iyov with, it's never going to be enough, right? Like if you afflict him, so you can always say, well, what did the Satan say? Like you can basically do anything to him. A person will give chol asher leishitem ba'ad nafsho as long as he's still alive, so he has a reason to hold out hope that God will. So the only true test then should be to kill him, right?
Right.
But you can't kill him because then the test is over.
That's no test.
Right.
Right.
So
That's another lesson.
Right. So I saw Malbim actually says that this kind of shchin is terminal. It's not immediately terminal, but this essentially he reads this as like he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, right? Like
You're going to die.
right, you're going to die slowly and painfully, like soon. So then, okay, that to me is close enough to right, like that. Then it's a real test. If it was just okay, he got sick. Okay, so maybe he'll get over being sick. The last thing you want to do if you're not that well is like kind of renounce God. Maybe this is the time to pray. But I thought that was a good taich. Okay, so now we get to Iyov's wife.
You're still holding on to your like righteousness.
So where do we see that? That phrase. Odcha machzik b'tumasecha. She says the exact same words that God said to Satan. The exact same words.
But she's saying it like in a sarcastic way.
Yeah. But think about it. The author, who Chazal says Moshe Rabbeinu, but whatever, this is written Baruch HaKodesh, is specifically putting those words in her mouth. Right?
That's awesome.
Right. So what does Barech mean here?
Right.
What does it mean?
Just like get your last licks in and then die.
Does it mean curse Hashem or does it mean bless Hashem?
Curse.
Curse. Any takers for bless?
I mean, the word's literally Barish, but sounds like it's sarcasm.
Sounds like it's sarcasm, right? So
Or maybe the other Lehebach. She's saying,
do what you did last time.
Right. Hold on to your
Bless God, and then you'll be out of here, and this is your last shot.
Right, you're done.
Right.
You're gonna go out. You're gonna go out in a blaze of glory.
Right. Go out as a tzaddik.
I don't think it flows from the first part.
It could really be either
I
way.
agree with you, but I've seen I can see both readings, and I think that's what's so interesting about. I mean, these are the only words that she says in the entire book. Okay. First of all, it's interesting. I think we pointed out. Was it last time, Shimon? You pointed out she's not included in the whole book until now.
When it comes to your wife, whatever she tells you, you can take it either way.
Well, wait till you see.
It's really up to you.
Wait till you see Iyov's response, because once you see Iyov's response,
That's a test none of us are passing.
once you see Iyov's response, you can't read her any other way. But it's interesting that she wasn't included in the beginning. When we recount all of Iyov's awesomeness, right? 10 kids, lots of camels, no wife,
I guess
no
the
mention
first
of a
thing
wife.
Why wasn't she included in the
I didn't like her.
test?
Why wasn't she included in the test? Well, maybe this is why she wasn't included in the test, because she's Scrooge, Ebenezer Scrooge or whatever, pick your bad guy. She's the Grinch. She's stealing Iyov's Christmas.
Right.
Whatever that might mean. Yeah, see? Another vote for bad lady. But it's interesting, right, that she wasn't there.
Maybe not.
Neither when we were discussing his wealth and his family and his opulence, nor when the Sultan was like, oh, we got to get rid of all of his stuff. We got rid of everything, and that was part of the test. But leaving the wife, that was, that I don't have to even be bothered with. I think you got all of it. Okay. So, what does Iyov think of what Mrs. Iyov has to say?
Lo, Kedaber Achas, Hanavolos, Tedabri Games Hatov,
Well,
What?
let's pause after
Oh, yes,
to that baby.
Hello. Kedaber Achas, Hanavolos, Tedabri. What?
You're speaking like one of those novellos. You're one of those disgusting
Oh, okay.
carcasses. You're talking to me like a dirty person.
Games Hatov Nakabel Meis Elokim, V'Yisrael Lo Nakabel. If I'm going to take all the good, I can't take the bad.
Right.
B'chol zos lo chata Iyov b'svasav.
That's
Wait a second.
Oh yeah.
That's loaded.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what's up.
B'chol zos, all of this, lo chata Iyov b'svasav. He didn't sin with his lips.
Okay. So what's the Gemara? You're gonna tell me what the Gemara says?
So he's thinking things.
Right. Bisvasav lo chata belibo chata. That's what the Gemara says. What do you think?
Where's this? Where's the Gemara?
The Gemara, I want to say Baba Basra. I think the whole most
You
of
think about Iyov is about
yeah most of the it's like from Daf Yud Daled through Tasayim. What do we think about this? This is pretty loaded.
Yeah. I mean,
Wait, listen. Do we have another Vayi Hayom?
No.
Ah.
No more Vayhi.
So we don't get to like what is
No.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu's
You-
response
right?
to
I love that you asked that because that's what's missing.
No.
Right?
right?
You don't need the other 40 prakim over here. Just end with, okay, well, now the Satan shows up and God says,
Told
"No,"
you.
and the Satan says, okay, you got me. But that's not what happens.
Either way, meaning when you end up with the word with bisvasav. So now, okay, so what happened?
Right. Right. Or
After-
is not cursing God bisvasav enough? Did he here's the
Because-
question. You're God, okay? And the Satan shows up and says, he cursed you in his heart. I know he did. So what do you I mean the pasuk says he
Because Baruch Hu knows what happened in his heart.
okay, so did Iyov pass the test?
I think in a religious sense, yeah, but maybe not in this very special deal with bet between Satan and God.
But then
Satan
again,
But
what
as
is
far as like
what's the issue
Well,
with
the
cursing
Satan-
God?
The Satan said, right, the Satan said, if you do this, he's going to curse you to your face.
Right, that didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
Again, what's the issue of cursing God? If the issue of cursing God is that I am outwardly expressing something negative towards my Creator, then he didn't do that.
Yeah, it's
But
Satan-
keeping it
Just we have like
It's a-
30 prakim of him doing that.
It's a little win for
Just
it's a little
wait,
win for
just wait.
Satan. If he's feeling that that means he changed Iyov's mindset. Even if he didn't curse him out loud, he changed.
So what you're
the
saying
type of
is
person-
Satan doesn't care if he
Not
really
perfect.
right. He doesn't really care if he loses the bet. He just wanted the opportunity to break Iyov.
I just want to go back to the theory for a moment that the Satan is Eo's wife.
Whoa!
With the things that she's saying, that he was saying, that,
Right? Well, I mean,
she wasn't there before, and suddenly she is,
Yeah, and
saying what God just said.
saying what God said. No, saying what God said, and then saying to do what Satan wants him to do.
Right.
Right? She says.
Maybe she was possessed.
Right?
She says, go do what Satan wants you to do. Just curse God and be done with it, and then we can end this whole charade. Right?
Right.
Yeah, it's a very strong point.
But
Unless-
it's definitely
He misunderstood her.
it's definitely that you feel that he cursed Hashem in his heart. It's not just like kind
The
of like
pasuk doesn't say it.
I know, but it's not just like prose. Just like we're talking, we're so formal.
I
So
never
saying
know.
he didn't. What is it? Curse Hashem with his lips. He didn't sin with his lips.
Let's compare it to how
And
we
instead of saying he didn't curse God, it's like just like a poetic way to say he didn't curse God. He didn't sin with his lips. He didn't say
So-
Ra.
The last time, the way we ended
different
it-
ways. It could be that he didn't curse God even with his lips, or it could be that he didn't curse God with his lips, but maybe with other things. It could be interpreted both ways, because it's like maybe you could have your
have
when
to
you're
eat through us.
it's so mean. You did this on purpose. It's true. It's terrible. I'm like grabbing pretzels. No, but like it could when you're in. I totally forgot what I was gonna say.
About the
When you're in the heat of the moment, and sometimes you'll say something, but you won't mean it, right? It's like something happened, like, oh, you know what? Well, whatever. And then a minute later, like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. So it's like he didn't even curse Hashem with his lips. I mean, like it could be like a madrega that as upset as he was, he didn't even say something.
It doesn't say even.
But we talk all the time about your lips and your tongue doing the various stuff, right? The tongue, the different parts of your body where the various do. So this is like, just talking about this is the part of your body that what they do with curses or nipple power, whatever, whatever.
Here's my it's fair. Here's my question to that approach. The way we ended the last parak was b'chol zos lo chata Iyov, period, or at least semicolon, v'lo natan tiflo Elohim. But we reuse language so much in Iyov that I would expect it to be the same. If you add in the word bisfatav, you're trying to tell me there's something to look into there. And then the Gemara says, that's the Gemara's kind of drasha of that word. I'm not. It's not clear to me that is the simple explanation of the pasuk. It could be like Morty's saying. He didn't sin with his lips, and who cares if he sinned with it in his heart? I don't care. He still wins.
Again, because what is the avera of cursing Hashem?
That's what I said. It's not in the
Right.
Avera, but it doesn't.
Right. There might be separate problems with cursing God in your heart.
Right.
Not always.
Right.
It is a different level.
And we've
There's
seen
a
already.
different level.
This is the theme.
Narrative.
The whole theme of the first parak was Iyov is like, oh, what if my kids curse God in their heart?
Right.
Right? That's the whole thing he was working. Bring korbanos and be makadosh the kids, and oh my God, what if they curse God in their
That's a
hearts?
pretty big deal, yeah.
And now
I
Iyov,
forgot about that.
v'lo chata Iyov b'svatav. So there's something there. Okay. Let's try to finish the parak. Do we have time? Yeah, I think we have a couple minutes.
Iyov is kol hara'ah hazos habo alav. So 3 of his friends heard everything that happened to Iyov.
Okay, let's put the words re'eh in like
Re'eh
in quotes.
3 wise men. What are we talking about?
We'll call them 3 colleagues or 3 people who are familiar with Iyov heard about this.
Why
They
can't
probably
we?
also say
Just wait. You'll agree with me.
Ravo ish mimkomon Alifaz hatimoni.
So Eliphaz, which is an Edomite sounding name, he comes from Teman. What's that?
Only because Esav had a kid Levi.
Right. He comes from Teman.
Where do we have Timon?
Vildad Hashuchi.
Yemen.
No, we had Timon. No, but we didn't have it before. No.
No, not in this book. Bildad
Bildad
Hashuchi.
Hashuchi. Bildad from Shuchi.
Mm-hmm.
With so far Hanam Masi.
So the Meforshim talk about, and I think it's the Pirkei Rebbe Lezer that says that this was like a miraculous occurrence, that these 3 people could all get together at the same time because they're coming from 3 ends of the earth. So for them to all hear, and I think there's this medrash about like they had some sort of some like connecting device that like like a magic stone or something like the Iyov stone is like glowing, it's like the backbone, right? We must us friends of Iyov assemble, and they all like kind of they come to their meeting place. But the idea being that these people are coming from the far ends of the earth. So that means that everyone has heard what has happened to Iyov, and we talked about that being part of the Meraglim story, and that's how they got into Eretz Yisrael. But they come from the ends of the earth to address the fact. So the Meraglim come into Eretz Yisrael, and there's a medrash about how Hakadosh Baruch Hu. So they say that Eretz Ocheles Yoshvahi, that it eats its inhabitants, because they came in and everyone seems to be going to attend a funeral. Whose funeral? Iyov's funeral. That's one approach. So they're coming from the ends of the earth to go and see what's going on with their colleague Iyov. Time out.
Where's Utz?
We
don't know.
Yeah, it's mentioned 2 or maybe 3 times in Tanakh. We don't know exactly where it is, but these 3 places are from 3 different parts.
If we say that when the Meraglim went to Eretz Yisrael, They see everyone going to Iyov's funeral.
Yeah.
A land
It's
of
an Eretz
pure
Yisrael.
pearls.
Lancaster.
Well, it
Well, it
isn't
doesn't have to be an Eretz Yisrael. Iyov also more spoiler alerts. Iyov survives and lives like a very full life after this. So he could make Aliyah after this whole
alright.
story's over.
Okay.
Vayivadu
Uh-huh.
yachtav. They met together. Lavo, lonud lo ulenachamo. What is lonud lo?
What do you have in Rashi?
Lonud lo. Come on, me. Donald lo. That didn't help me. Thanks. Rub it in. Twist the knife. Tonudo lo. Nope, that didn't help either. Thanks. Like ulenachamo. Okay, fine. What does lonud lo mean?
They gathered together to go and mourn with him and comfort him. So Lunud is the mourning.
Okay.
Nachem is the
That's
Is,
interesting.
is
The
the
comforting.
comfort?
Yeah.
Right?
Never heard
Okay.
of that.
Lonud. Okay.
Nida is like a ostracized. Outs.
I'm mourning.
No, I know.
Nidui.
Oh,
It's usually to travel away, like a kind Nav and Nud,
Yeah.
that he doesn't have his own place.
Vayishu es Enehem Yerachot. So wait a minute.
Yeah, this is very
Oh,
biblical
go ahead.
Hebrew. This is not like
So-
later Ksuvim
So
kind
they
of Hebrew.
gathered
They
together
gathered
to go to him to do this for him.
Right.
Vayishu es Enehem. They lifted up their eyes Merachot from afar. Though he grew, they could not recognize him. Vayisu
Why
Kolam,
can't they recognize him?
because he's laying in dirt and covered in boils.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
All right. Vayisu Kolam Vayivku. They raised their voice and they cried. Vayikru Ish Me'ilo.
They tear Kriya.
Okay. Vayizriku Afar Al Rosheim the Hashom. Right?
Yeah.
Vayizriku Afar Al Rosheim Hashamayma.
Yeah. Really weird phrase. Any other takers on when Offer is thrown heavenward?
Yeah, Moshe does that.
Yeah.
To get
for the
Shchen.
Yeah. Boom.
What?
There you go. So
But
the
it's on their heads heavenward.
yeah,
It's
it's
like
a
a reverse.
very weird phrase.
Towards the right.
The
upward.
Bible scholars will tell you this is some sort of like warding off. It's something to like make sure they're not getting boils. Like they're
It's like-
people throw salt over their shoulder. I don't know. I actually saw someone
It's
do
like,
that
we
once.
just don't
Really?
Iyov, we love you. We just don't want to catch it.
And it wasn't the Dumb and Dumber.
Holy
What? No, it wasn't
Oh,
Dumb and
okay.
Dumber. It was
Okay.
salt, not an actual salt shaker.
Oh, okay.
And we're gonna learn some halachos from these fine gentlemen.
Yeshua told the Aretz Shivas Yamim. So he sat with him on the ground.
Yeah, for 7 days.
Shivas Leilos. And 7 nights.
Right. So here's where we get the 7 days of mourning,
Ve'en dover elav davar.
even though he's not dead.
What? Ve'en dover elav davar. Kiro kigodol hak ev mo'od. They didn't speak with him?
They didn't speak with him for 7 days
They
and
just
7
sat
nights.
with him.
They just
That's
sat
not
with
like
him.
Shiva at all.
No, you don't
No,
speak.
you're not allowed to
You're
speak to the mourner.
until
The
they
mourner
speak to
has
you.
to speak to you first.
Oh, so he
This
didn't
is
speak,
where,
right,
yeah,
okay.
Because he was in so much pain.
because
Hak ev mo'od.
Yeah.
Lo hak ev mo'od.
what do we think of this? Are they good friends?
Very empathetic to stay.
Very
for
empathetic.
To stay for 7 days.
Without
Especially-
saying anything.
If you're not
Just sitting on the
What are
ground.
you doing? Would you want to sit for 7 days? And that's what they're going with boils.
Right.
It's not for their own. I don't think they're doing it for their. I don't see how they're benefiting. So
Right.
therefore, you have to say it's not for them.
Okay, that's fair. Any other takers? They sound like good folks.
They didn't
Please
know what
kill
to
it, kill
say.
it.
I wouldn't. Sometimes you don't know what to say.
Yeah, you really don't know.
It's almost like
It's not just
almost
the morning.
like
He lost
guarding
every
him.
single one of his kids. He lost every money he had.
Where's his
He
wife?
lost- and he still has his wife.
Back
That's,
arguing with
that's
the
one of the bad things I think here.
Yeah, it sounds like it's
That's
not
like-
it's not a good thing to have
No.
a wife like that around who's trying to get him to curse God.
And
It's
now
almost,
he's,
it's
and
not,
he's
it's
in
almost like
pain.
they're guarding him.
The biggest fun.
That's interesting.
It's
They're
like-
guarding
it's
him.
like Shmira, like they're staying with him.
Oh.
Maybe Satan will come
Or his
back
wife?
somehow with a wife, or maybe guarding him from himself. Like they don't want him to, I don't know,
Right.
Well,
kill
they
himself
treat him-
maybe.
They treat him like an Abel or like a mace, or some combination of both.
Yeah.
He's
Some-
somebody who's like both. He's
Yeah.
like Abel, He's mourning for some of his kids.
Yeah,
or
they're
he's
tearing
mourning-
Kriya.
Yeah, then
He
he's
not
is
one-
an Avel. He is an
Are
Avel.
these-
And they're treating
Okay.
themselves like they're available.
This is
Right.
one of the things that I
Are these
wanted
friends God
to
fearing
point out.
people?
So we also
they
discussed this.
God-believing people?
Is
God
Iyov
believing
Jewish?
people.
Are these people
Right.
Jewish?
Yeah.
What? How do you read this? Is this a? I mean, it sounds like we're learning some halachos out from what they're doing, but they're not. It's not exactly a halachic situation.
True.
I mean, he is an Avel if he's Jewish, and so they're treating him.
Whoa, how do we know he's still an Avel? Vayhi
Yeah.
Hayom, if it's a year later, then maybe he's not even
True.
an Avel anymore.
It's true.
They're
Fair.
treating themselves like they're available. They're not available. They're not available.
They're tearing
The
Kriya.
three people that came were not available.
Right.
And they're treating themselves like there's a lot of strange things going on. Then you have to say he's like the mace, which is
Well, if
partially
he
is.
wants all this money, then he's like a dead person.
Yeah,
Whatever.
and then he's loyal. They're treating him like the mace.
Eliphaz shows up.
Okay, so we'll do one more pasuk, even though it's the beginning of Parak Gimel. It really belongs in Parak Beis, and we all know that the prakim have no importance for us
We didn't
conceptually.
We do give him $1,000.
We didn't do Yigimon Yadalad.
We'll do it.
We
But
didn't
we
do
did the
Yadalad
Gimel.
because there's no Yadalad.
We did. I have a $1.
You have a Yadalad?
What?
This is your beginning of your park base?
Yeah, Parak
Okay.
Gimel.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
Yeah.
that's why I thought you were done to Ontario. Why? Okay. According to this, it's Pasuk.
Oh, Arts.
go.
Oh,
They
Arts.
changed.
Wow.
Whoa.
Called it. Call it.
Whew.
Oh,
You should
yeah,
work
yeah,
for Arts
Let me
Grow.
see this one. Where's-
Oh, but then.
What do you have, Shimi?
I have.
You have a Yadalit?
Aleph.
Yeah,
No, Aleph.
You have an Aleph. You have.
Yeah.
Aleph is Bayan.
Okay.
That's Pasuk. You have.
That's
Bayan,
fascinating.
How
That's
many
wild.
do they double up the puzzle?
No, that
So I have like 25 Sukkim and Paragimel.
yeah, no. Everything else will be the same.
No,
This
but
is
you
one of the
can't-
more
if they're
famous
If they're
ones.
one off, if they're one off, happen to
I'm
be the
saying in
same.
Karagimel, you have
They're
26 Sukkim?
one off.
Yeah,
I have 25.
So it means they're
Okay, I
starting-
have 25.
They're starting Aleph on our base.
I have 26 in Parakim.
Must have
Okay,
made
I
up
have
another one.
25.
Right.
Okay, so they, okay. So you were saying
So
that
it's one,
really
it's one off
belongs?
the whole second
I'm
paragraph.
very upset at
Yeah.
you about the popcorn.
That is so
Fair.
interesting.
Mission accomplished.
Just
just
take a
try
cup
that.
and take all the pretzels and put them in cups.
That's what I was trying to do.
No, but then you start eating the pretzels. I thought you wanted
Yes,
pretzels.
I did. But then I was like,
Read the last
okay.
pasuk.
Acharichin,
Or
posach
first-
Iyov
first
espiu.
Wait, so what's he gonna do here?
He opened up his mouth.
We just had before lo chata Iyov b'svatav. What do you think? Is this gonna end on a positive note or a negative note?
Guess we're about to
No, it's
find
not
out.
about-
That should be
Kal es
positive.
yomo.
Okay, so what happens? Vayikalel es yomo. What does that mean?
His day?
Birthday?
Birthday.
They was born. Here's the day was born.
What does that mean?
Like, I'd rather not, I wish I wasn't
I
born.
wish I was dead.
Like,
Okay.
people say.
Okay.
Shenola
I've
bo.
better
Any other
never-
take?
better
That,
never
that's
be born.
very fair reading. I'm with you. Any other takers on what that could possibly mean?
The day that he
Created
was
me.
given the boil. They also.
Say that
What
again.
a
The
sight.
person who created me.
The person who created me. We'll get to that next time.
Say that the day.
Yomo says Yomo.
What? Put yourself in the mind of someone that lives, 2,000 years ago. What is significant about the day that you're born?
Well, if you have complete years, it's also the day you die.
Okay.
I don't know if that.
Okay.
The day of born. Okay.
What's significant
Is he
about
a
it,
person?
aside from being born that day?
You're born under a zodiac sign, right?
Right.
So that if you're not Jewish,
If you're not
Jewish,
Right.
you believe that the day that you're born influences
Has
your
significance.
entire life.
Well, you won't be Jewish.
No, not as much, because we're above
We're above the mazalas. But if you're born, if you're a Sagittarius, you're a Sagittarius. So when he's cursing the day he's born, he's not just cursing. He's not just cursing like, oh man, August 18th, like, oh, I wish I was never born. He's now leaving the world a little bit of God runs the world, and he's saying, well, if God is not, in charge, maybe the zodiac is in charge. So if I'm going to curse someone, I have to curse something that has actual influence over my life. And clearly my life is not being influenced by God because I'm a good person and bad stuff is happening to me. So that's not just. So if there's no just God, then maybe it's from the zodiac. Maybe it's from the the other constellations or the other powers and influence in the universe that is causing this to happen to me. So I'll go after them. And boy, does he go after them. We'll see that next time. Feel free to read ahead.
I tried.
Parakimmel
I
is a
tried
doozy.
to. It's way too like.
I want to see him take on the flying spaghetti monster.
How many Pokemon are you?
There are 42 Prakim in Iyov.
Oh my